Attention, stupid humans. All orcs are evil, just like Gary Gygax and Professor Tolkien warned you. Series 1 of these orc enamel pins are on Kickstarter again for a very limited time. Pick your clan, join the Horde, and cause some mayhem. Go to badorcs.com. That's badorcs.com. Now watch this stupid video.
All right, guys, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid right the fuck off. Marvel is screwed. Like, this is not good. We're going to talk about this because I know a lot of people are like, but the movies, they're getting better. Yeah, the movies may be getting better, but the box office is not getting better. Fantastic Four was supposed to be the lead-in to Doomsday, which was going to be the lead-in to Secret Wars, which is supposed to be the biggest superhero movie ever. All the cameos all in one place, and nobody cares, which is a damn shame. I'm gonna be honest here. We gave a review, gave our opinion on Fantastic Four. I liked it. I love the Fantastic Four. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a solid movie. I thought it would do better. I honestly thought it was going to do better. It did pretty okay opening weekend, and then it just dropped off a freaking cliff. And now the mainstream media is even like, oh my gosh, guys, is Marvel in trouble? Oh my gosh, the bigots and the chuds were right. No, they will never do that. They will never acknowledge that the bigots and the chuds and the alt-right Nazis that have been saying Marvel's in trouble for the last several years are actually right. They will never do that. They'll be like, we just came to this conclusion on our own. And then you're going to have people on the other side of it that are just absolutely delusional, that think that everything's fine. Well, the movies are good. That means that they're fine, that they're making money because I like them. Reasoning like a child, right? It doesn't matter. You can have a very good movie that performs poorly at the box office or does not meet expectations, and you could have a piss poor shit movie like a lot of the stuff Michael Bay shoves out, and it does really well. Why do we have like 19 effing Transformers movies? Because they made money. Most of them were god awful, with the exception of Bumblebee. But yeah, it's not good. So let's take a look at this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Just look at these headlines. In the last week, Fantastic Four had a sharp decline. Disney Plus curse, how the streaming service hurt Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar. Fantastic Four faces major box office drop. Is Marvel in trouble again? Notice this is not bounding in the comics. Notice this is not cosmic book news. Notice this isn't Fandom Pulse. All those websites that they said were alt-right. These are mainstream media outlets. CBR, the MCU needs more than a soft reboot. It needs a break. Comic Book Resources says Marvel needs a break. I mean, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement for Comic Book Resources to say, please stop with the subpar Marvel. Just stop. Fantastic Four struggles in the second week. There's an obvious reason why Fantastic Four collapsed. Fantastic Four box office dropped 66%. The Fantastic Four first steps hit steep decline. Fantastic Four first step stretches towards $370 million worldwide after bigger than expected second weekend box office drop. They would have liked that to be twice that. And it's not even going to do what Guardians 3 did. Earnings fall short of forecasts. Oh my God, guys, it's doom and gloom. Again, the movie itself might be good, but it doesn't mean it's making enough money for the Disney machine. And yeah, they really need to rethink their strategy or adjust their expectations down. But they've got Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom, inexplicably, playing Dr. Doom, and they're paying him like $200 million. Like, they got to cover his salary, and God knows how many other people's salaries for the cameo fest that will be Secret Wars. And they're just they if they had kept up the momentum post Endgame, I think we'd be in a very different place. But there's just a lot of shit. So Variety's got an article here how Hollywood finally pulled off comic book camp. Actually, I do agree with this. It's one thing I will say about both Fantastic Four and Superman. They were the most comic book movies, but they also didn't insult you. It wasn't like Batman and Robin, where it was just like playing it for laughs. It was like, no, they actually feel like a comic book on the screen. I can appreciate that. But again, it doesn't mean it translates to the kind of money that the Disney machine wants. So this is coming from The Wrap. Fantastic Four box office dive is a bad omen for Marvel's future. The MCU's appeal beyond its most hardcore fans is in question after second weekend First Steps drop off. They had 117 million domestic start and a promising word of mouth. Yeah, again, I will reiterate. I liked the Fantastic Four. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10, but I also disclaimed it with the fact that I am biased because the Fantastic Four were one of my favorite teams in the comics growing up. Fantastic Four and X-Men. So, you know, to be able to see them in that 60s retro futuristic setting, and they got them right for the most part, except for, you know, Pedro Pascal is Pedro Pascal, but whatever. He was okay. He didn't take me out of the movie or anything. And to see comic book accurate Galactus, I think I probably gave it a couple of more points than a lot of people would have. I liked it. That being said, I can admit there's also a financial disappointment. Some of my favorite movies of all time were financial disappointments. Some of my favorite movies of all time, people absolutely freaking hate. Or they don't get it. They're very niche. My favorite Tim Burton movie is Ed Wood. I freaking love Ed Wood because I love the fact this guy's not self-aware at all. He has zero self-awareness. He's making like the worst movies ever made. And he thinks he's freaking Orson Welles. And I just love it. It works for me. But I know a lot of people don't like it. They think it's too weird. It wasn't a huge hit, but whatever. That's okay. I can still enjoy that movie and acknowledge it wasn't a huge hit. They said, yeah, despite an A- on CinemaScore and a 92% Rotten Tomatoes audience score, Fantastic Four cratered with a 66% second weekend drop to 40 million domestic, 79 million worldwide. The other comparable superhero movie, Superman, saw a 53% drop. Superman is more accessible for normies. I didn't like Superman as much. I think I might have been overly harsh on. I'm going to be honest. I might have been overly harsh because my first reaction was that was not a Superman movie. That was a James Gunn ensemble movie, and it's called Superman. I might actually bump it up a point. I think I gave it like a 5 out of 10. I might bump it up a point because it does get like the monthly comic vibe right. It is a very accessible movie, I think, for normies who just want to see Superman beat the shit out of kaiju, but so that's probably why it didn't crater. Fantastic Four is kind of a downer in some ways. The retro futuristic spin on Marvel's first family has largely failed to make the leap from hardcore fans to a wider audience, despite buzz from the former. I told people it was good, but they don't want to give Disney money. I mean, I'm telling you, that's a huge part of it. I can tell people Fantastic Four is the best fucking movie ever fucking made. It's not, by the way. It's good, but it's not the best movie ever made. But I told people X-Men 97 was freaking amazing, and I got a lot of pushback. People were like, yeah, I'm not giving Disney money. I don't care how good it is. I'm not giving Disney money. And that's a Disney problem. Disney did that to themselves. I'm just saying. They said, yeah, there was a 68% drop on Captain America Brave New World. It was a hell of a lot better than the 2015 Fantastic Four film. The downward trend continued on Monday with the daily domestic total of 4.5 million, a 56% drop. First Steps suffered a second weekend collapse despite all the critical and commercial momentum. Bodes poorly not just for the film, but for the Marvel Universe's long-term future. There isn't one other than Spider-Man movies, X-Men movies. They need to go back to just doing standalone Spider-Man and X-Men movies. Whatever. At best, the drop-off underscores the challenges Disney faces in expanding the roster of superhero characters. At worst, this could signal that general audiences aren't into the MCU anymore. Yeah, you can't say that it's like people aren't going to the movies. People aren't spending money. People are going to Minecraft. They're going to Mario. They're going to Barbie. They're going to Weapons. Weapons was this weekend. My son went to go see it. I couldn't go see it. I was too busy. I had too much to do. But he said it was awesome. And it made a shit ton of money. And it didn't cost as much as these movies cost. So people will go see movies. They will go see movies they want to go see. They just don't want to see Marvel movies anymore. Sorry. Even with the underwhelming overseas numbers that plagued fellow superhero film Superman and were clearly at play with Fantastic Four, exhibitor sources told The Wrap heading into the weekend they believe the film would keep its domestic hold below 60%. So it's going to make probably $500 million worldwide. They have Freakier Fridays weapons. The whole recipe was there for what I thought would be a strong second week hold, and instead it ended up holding not much better than Captain America Brave New World. Yeah, Marvel movies are front loaded now. Everybody that wants to go see them goes and sees them opening weekend, and then even if the word of mouth is good, people don't go. I mean, that's the thing. Thunderbolts. My wife and my son went to go see Thunderbolts, and they said it's the best Marvel anything in a very, very long time. And they did a review, and they said it was good, and people didn't go. They don't care. They're over it. It doesn't matter how good it is. You could produce the Marvel equivalent of Citizen fucking Kane, and they will not go see it because they're so jaded and bored and checked out. Disney has completely destroyed this brand. And it doesn't mean it's not good. It just means nobody cares. And ideally, you've got both things in tandem. You've got good content that people care about, and usually one thing leads to the next. But see also Michael Bay movies. I have no explanation for Transformers, why they got a sequel. Well, the first one made a lot of money, but they just kept making them, and they kept getting worse. Every Transformers movie was worse than the last Transformers movie. It was awful. Except for Bumblebee. I like you, Bumblebee. You were pretty good. Anyway. This is that Paul is a Duragrabian. I can't pronounce his name. The ComScore guy, right? He said it's a real surprise because I can't point to the marketing being bad or the audience not liking it. Yes, we can tell you what the problem is. We've been telling you what the problem is. People are over it. People are like actively boycotting and or they've just tuned out. Same with Star Wars. You can put the best damn Star Wars show ever on Disney Plus. People said Andor was pretty good. You know what? Most people just didn't care. Because you had so many bad Star Wars movies and shows that people just checked out. They didn't bother giving it a chance. And again, people are like, it can be good. I don't care. I don't care how fucking good it is. I'm not going to go. I'm over it. They said when being good isn't good enough. In the past, with well-received disappointments like Elio and Transformers 1, sometimes the elements of a film that opening weekend viewers find most enjoyable don't appeal to wider audiences. That might be the case with Fantastic Four. No, it's a Marvel thing, and people are over it. Film critics compare the buzz around First Steps to that of Superman, while saying that First Steps pleased the most longtime Marvel fans with what is widely considered to be the best cinematic interpretation of Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben. Cross off Reed, but everybody else was pretty good. The film lacked an X factor that the DC reboot film had. Yeah, it was. It wasn't accessible, I don't think, for normie audiences. I don't think it was. Superman had a lot of things people enjoyed that they weren't necessarily expecting. For a few weeks, people have been talking about Crypto, Mr. Terrific, and the Justice Gang. Fantastic Four, which I did like, didn't have that by comparison. No. Came as advertised, giving audiences exactly what they were expecting. Sure, it looked good and had fun elements, but there were no surprises, no characters that truly broke out, no wild connection to the rest of the MCU. Not that it needed one or some shocking cameo. There wasn't anything specific that made people go, oh, you have to go see this film right this second. Yeah, it's just another Marvel thing. It'll be on Disney Plus in a couple months. If I'm going to go see one movie, I'll go see Superman because Crypto's cute. You know? And objectively, I think Fantastic Four was the better movie. But Crypto, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, Herbie was pretty cool, but he's no Crypto. I'm sorry. I said the MCU has been devalued. Where have you guys been? They're all turning. They're all turning on Disney now. The MCU has been devalued. The declined audience goodwill toward the MCU took root with the tepid audience reception to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, they just fucked over Wanda, didn't they? Big time. And then Ant-Man. You know, until now, the box office misfires for the franchise could be attributed to either poor word of mouth, as was the case for Brave New World. Ooh, Brave New World wasn't, people didn't say nice things about it. How dare you? You must be some kind of hater, bigot, Nazi. Or the sentiment was the well-received film will require homework. Yes, that was a huge issue for people, because when we went to go see Doctor Strange, there were people that were completely lost. They're like, why does Wanda have all these powers now? Why is she evil? Even people that watch WandaVision are like, why is she evil now? And we're dealing with then it just became this like parade of cameos. And Deadpool and Wolverine worked. I would carve that one out because that's more of a Fox thing, and that was more of a. I almost felt like the Gremlins 2 of the Marvel universe, right? It was like a wink and a nod, and kind of like roasting the X-Men movies and the, you know what I'm saying? Like it didn't feel like an actual MCU movie. It was, but I would say it's more like arm's length. That's just my personal opinion. And plus there's a lot of swearing and violence and people love that shit. Yeah. They're talking about Captain Marvel. They said people who went to Captain Marvel made $1 billion and it was shit. And then the Marvels became the MCU's biggest flop 4 years later because it was must-see TV or must-see movie. And after audiences got burnt, usually you could expect decent quality like Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. They would have been, mid to better range pre-Endgame, and people would have gone and they would have made $1 billion probably. Right? If you can get $1 billion out of Captain Marvel, you can get $1 billion out of Fantastic Four for sure. But the brand has been so devalued that nobody cares anymore. They just don't. Spider-Man, they'll probably make money, but I don't know if Spider-Man's even going to make $1 billion because the last one, like they played the card, right? They played the ace. It was all the Spider-Man, all the villains from all the movies, all in one place. And it was like, oh my God, you can only do that once. Right. And now they're like, we'll bring the Punisher back. we'll have the Punisher in it. Maybe they'll have Daredevil. That'd be kind of cool. But again, comic book fans will care. I don't think general audiences are going to care. The last Daredevil didn't do very well. Again, it's not a knock at the quality. It's just, it didn't do very well. Right. It said the outlook isn't good for Fantastic Four. Well, they think it's going to be 400 to 600 million. That's going to be the new normal for Marvel, 400 to 600 million. Disney's going to have to budget accordingly, something that may already be planned. As Kevin Feige publicly announced, the number of films and TV shows the studio will release in the years to come will be significantly scaled back. Thing is, you're not going to get those big cosmic epics. And I got to wonder, I mean, what happens if Secret Wars underperforms? I mean, you're talking a movie that's got like every Marvel character. Like this is the dream, man. This is what like we wanted years ago when they started crossing the streams and getting everybody together for the Avengers. We're like, can you imagine if we had the Avengers and Spider-Man and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and Daredevil and what the hell? We'll throw Ghost Rider in there with all these characters all in one place, just like the comics, that we could put them all in one place for one big event. And I don't know if they're going to recoup their budget on that one. I mean, just Robert Downey Jr. is $200 million. Just Robert Downey Jr., $200 million. Good luck with that. I'm thinking 800. Well, I don't know. I mean, if they're throwing Spider-Man into it and the X-Men into it, it might actually, that one might actually do $1 billion. But it's going to have to basically cover the losses of all the other Marvel movies that underperformed. And I don't think Doomsday is going to be that big. I could be wrong, but I think what they're relying on now is just cameos. We're going to connect everything. And then that's probably going to be the big send-off. I think that's going to be the big send-off for this iteration of Marvel. And when you've even got comic book resources saying it's time to let Marvel rest, just put it down for like a decade and then come back with some fresh take on it. If it were me, I'd be like, you know what? Let's do Marvels, the miniseries, and just introduce all these characters through the eyes of normies, and then spin them off in their own movies. Just do a movie, Marvels, not the Marvels, but Marvels. Introduce the new Marvel universe. Show that Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, all these guys, X-Men, they all exist here already. And then go back and do individual movies for each of those characters, the origin or whatever it is. That's how I would do it. I'd be like, yeah, they all live here. They all live here in New York. This is Marvel, just like the comics. All these characters are here and they're fighting all these threats and they're crossing over and all that. That's how I would do it, and reintroduce Marvel that way instead of like, here's one character and then here's another. And oh, look, those two characters are in a movie together. Oh, here's a third character and they're in a movie together. Oh my God. You mean the Hulk and Captain America and Thor all live in the same universe? Oh my God, guys. I'm like, nah, just rip the Band-Aid off. You know, you're a reporter in New York, there's freaking superheroes, aliens, giant robots, all that shit. Just, it's always happening. And then we do separate movies. That's how I would do it. But, you know, I'm not in charge. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later. For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.